How do you feel being a musician in Vancouver?
Really lucky, and I can't make my rent.
Say hi. If you're alone tonight, say hi. You, he, should I say hi?
Condos. In Vancouver, it seems that everywhere you look, there's another glass tower, elbowing a cultural landmark out of the way in the name of densification. Like this soon-to-be oasis in an industrial area of East Vancouver. It's located across the street from this Heritage Hotel, a hub of the artistic community since 2010, when it was taken over by a new creative team. The beloved locale with its 2 nightclubs, restaurant, and a 58-year-old tiki bar has just been sold to a condo developer, and these kids are lined up for one last ice cream social.
I come here every Monday because I live in the neighborhood and I have a really weird fascination with tiki bars. Also, my dad used to come here when he was about my age and buy beer that fell off the back of a truck.
If anyone buys it over, they might not keep it alive in the same way. And we're all keeping our fingers crossed that we'll still be able to come to this place in the future.
Every landlord is better off selling than holding and renting. And when that happens, operations like this are just going to the meat grinder. Something really snapped in Vancouver when the news hit. So I think an awful lot of the momentum behind this organization isn't just about the Waldorf, but what the Waldorf has come to symbolize, which is the heart and soul of our city, and we're watching it go. And everybody is standing up and saying, that's it. No more. This far and no further. You've gone far enough. You're done.
When you dump it down, you put up some shitty kind of real estate. You're taking a piece of my soul and pissing on it. So no thank you.
Visual arts, we all love illustration, we all love fashion, we all love hair, we all love music, we all love each other. And this is our city. And if we don't have a place where the good, the bad, and the ugly can come together to take shape, where we can all intermingle and meet great people and talk and do things, we're not going to be a city that creates a great sense of ourselves and who we are.
As of this filming, the Waldorf remains in limbo.
So Vancouver's got a real stranglehold on the live music scene in a way I think most cities don't. You just can't make a new venue and expect it to work because you can't get a liquor license. No one can. There is literally no option. Like, even if you had I have this amount of money, I want to throw a show, you probably still couldn't even find a space to do it.
Matatal was told by the city that he can no longer operate a venue from his record store until he updates it to 2012 building codes, which he says would cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars.
The license inspector comes in and says, well, you've got this big space, it's not all a record store, but you're only licensed to run a record store. What do you do with the other space? And we say, we use it as studios. They say, well, that's not licensed. It's not harming anyone to run 2 businesses in a big space, and yet it's illegal because of a rule that says you can't do it. But there's no rationale or reason behind the rule besides you can't do it.
You just can't.
You just can't. Licensing person tells you X, Y, and Z, and then you go over, and then the zoning person tells you X, Y, and Z, and says, well, you need to talk to the building code, and then they tell you X, Y, and Z. It all conflicts. Basically, what they've told you, if put in aggregate, means you can't do anything in the city of Vancouver, which is true.
Corrine Lee opened the Rio Theatre in East Vancouver to host multimedia live shows and movies, but ended up having an epic and very public battle with the BC LCLB, which cost her tens of thousands of dollars.
Because of an outdated law from the 1920s where movie theaters are not allowed to have a liquor license, they informed us that we were no longer allowed to show movies. They made us choose. You have to either be a concert venue or you can be a movie theater without a liquor license. If you want your liquor license, you have to be a concert venue with no movies. Right from the get-go, that never made any sense to us because what's the difference between watching a movie and watching a concert, for one? Also, we have a $100,000 digital state-of-the-art projector that we want to be able to use. And we picketed outside of Christy Clark's office, you know, just anything we could think of, we were doing it. And we just kept up the pressure until it was getting embarrassing for them. Because really, for them to put up such a fight against something that benefits everyone, you know, people may think, oh, what's the big deal about having a drink in a movie theater? It wasn't that, it was that we couldn't sustain ourselves as a business without having a liquor license and without being able to have our multimedia programming. I think the problem is that a lot of their policy has been, it needs a rewrite, I think. You know, there's a lot of outdated policies that have just been adjusted here and there, they're interpreted by whomever, and then that's what we're left to work with. And that's why everybody is just trying to, like, you know, trying to do what they can do within the rules, and it's like doing the twister.
Because of its location in Vancouver's downtown east side, the historic Rickshaw Theatre must close at midnight on weeknights and 1 a.m. on weekends. Recently, the LCLB has delivered some sobering news.
The liquor board has decided that no primary liquor establishments can de-license a venue for the purpose of having all ages shows for concerts, which is something that, you know, was never mentioned when we first got our liquor license. We can no longer have all ages shows, period. And nor can any other liquor primary establishments. They want to discourage kids from attending concerts in what's predominantly a nightclub. Give us evidence as to, hard evidence as to why this has become all of a sudden an issue that wasn't an issue. We had like 6 all ages shows last year without any problems. And they've acknowledged that we didn't have any problems either. So why are you, being so aggressive with this right now?
All Tar Mohammed wants is to compete.
Be on a sort of level playing field, really, with places like Fortune, for example, or even Cobalt. People in close vicinity, proximity to us, who can open till 2 in the morning and serve liquor. We don't have that sort of ability to do that.
So do you think that it puts you at an unfair advantage?
It definitely puts us at an unfair advantage, yeah.
It does kind of feel like we're at a tipping point, and it's also the timing. There's that, and then there was the thing with the province banning all ages shows at liquor primary venues, and those two things happen in the same week, and it's just, people are kind of getting fed up. A big part of what is behind it is people here seem very risk averse. Like in the city hall especially, it seems like people are just terrified that there's going to be some kind of accident. I don't want anybody to get trampled to death either, but on the other hand, you could also get cut with a skate at the ice rink. Well, they don't close ice rinks. I feel like Vancouver has the best music scene in the world. I mean, there's I could name 20 or 30 local bands that are just amazing that, a lot of people don't know about outside of the city, and, that's it's kind of neat in a way. We have our own little secret thing. Seems like more and more it's becoming a bit of a contested space where people are becoming more and more politicized. Not only about the music venues issue, but social housing or any kind of affordable housing has definitely been a hot button topic that affects musicians as well. In some cases the laws are directly responsible for the closure, but even when they're not, I'd argue that they still contribute. That if the laws made sense, then it would be a lot easier for people to make a buck.
Like the big change I remember happening, which is, I think it's the same. I think the same stuff's going on, was Granville Street, like the big change on Granville. Because Granville used to have two like amazing clubs. One was legit and one wasn't, and called like the Sugar Refinery. And that for like the creative music scene was massive. And there also used to be the Yale and stuff that was on there too. And I think the big change was when that sort of like, they call it like the Granville cartel of like the bar owners started lobbying big and opened up all these nightclubs in that area. And then once they started doing that, they got the city on board and made like the entertainment district on that. And when that came in, like all those places that were playing live music just got shut down. But I found it very strange that they were able to get this one district where you can party till 4 a.m. and drink as much as you want. And you can go to these nightclubs and play. But there's nothing artistic or cultural happening at all in that area. They basically shut down the street in order to let people stay and drink and spend a bunch of money. So there's always resources going to that group of people because there's enough money behind it to make it happen. But there's nothing remotely cultural happening. And anywhere else in the city where there are cultural things, there's all these like crazy bylaws to stop liquor laws. Right? It's like this bylaw went in and out depending on who was voting. To you can't dance on commercial drive. So you go to a venue, you play. One, they'd have these liquor licenses that are really weird where you could only have 2 people or 3 people playing in the band, or it couldn't be amped, it could be amplified or not. And they kind of got that, so some of the places you can play with a band and actually plug in and play loud enough that people would want to dance. And someone starts dancing, and then everybody in the place has got to stop them. Like, you're not allowed to dance, you know. It feels like Footloose. Like, just breaking into this scene used to takes years. It's like a really hard vibe, because there's not a lot. There's not a lot of places going on. It's hard to be really welcomed in and have it be okay, because there's not a lot of places to play. They don't have those gigs. Like, they just aren't around. Nobody wants it. There's not enough money to actually let those gigs happen. And there's no venues for them to do it in. There's like the liquor law restrictions of like this restaurant, oh, we could do it, but we're not allowed to do that because it conflicts with our liquor law. Too worried about losing our liquor law, so we're not going to put a guitar player in the corner of your restaurant or something. You need to have these, you need to learn how to play and work, be a musician, have those things happen. And those things not being around is like massively detrimental to the scene.
What can you guys do in 5 minutes?